Prince Harry didn't just return to the UK, he walked straight into a wall of silence. No media frenzy, no crowd of photographers scrambling for a shot, no fans cheering, just emptiness. For someone who once held the nation's heart, who was seen as the soldier prince, adored for his charm and Diana's spark, this quiet landing was louder than any scandal could ever be. The worst part, everyone saw it coming. This wasn't a shock. It was the result of years of burned bridges, messy interviews, and too many exclusive tell-alls. Harry had once been the darling of the British public, but now he was met with cold indifference, a reality check that no one had to force upon him. It was the inevitable consequence of actions he chose. This time, it wasn't just about returning home. It was about confronting the silence. And that silence, it's the loudest thing Harry's heard in years. It's not anger. It's not hatred. It's the sting of being forgotten. Harry's fall from grace didn't happen overnight. It was slow, drawn out, and painfully public. The prince who once seemed untouchable, whose every move was celebrated by the media, started making choices that gradually pushed people away. It wasn't just one mistake or one interview that changed everything. It was the series of decisions, one after another, that led to his downfall. For a while, people blamed Meghan for pulling him out of royal life, for influencing his decisions. But over time, that narrative shifted. It wasn't just about her. At some point, Harry became the face of the drama, the one who couldn't stop talking about it. Every interview, every tell-all, every documentary felt like another chapter in the same tired story. It wasn't just about his struggles anymore. It was about staying in the spotlight, staying relevant, even when that spotlight was starting to dim. As the interviews piled up and the documentaries kept coming, it became clear. The prince who once charmed the world now seemed like a man who couldn't resist a microphone. Every time he spoke, it felt like he was chasing sympathy, and not just from the public, but from his own family. That craving for attention turned what should have been a personal journey into a public spectacle. And soon, the very thing that once made him relatable began to make him seem out of touch. When Harry landed back in the UK this time, there was no royal welcome, no excited crowd, no heartfelt reunion, no royal aides rushing to meet him, no family members stepping forward to embrace him. In fact, there was nothing, just a haunting, deafening silence. For someone who once walked into rooms and felt the weight of the world's affection, this was a stark contrast. The British public, who once adored him, seemed to have moved on. And the hardest part, it wasn't that they were angry or upset with him, it was that they didn't care anymore. The indifference cut deeper than any criticism or anger ever could. This wasn't just about Harry's personal journey, it was about the nation's collective shift. No fanfare, no warmth, just a recognition that the man who once captured their hearts had faded from their consciousness. The worst thing a public figure can face isn't hatred. It's the realization that the world has simply stopped paying attention. And that's the brutal truth Harry had to face. When he touched down, he'd been forgotten, replaced by something else, someone else. The silence said it all. Harry's decline wasn't some sudden fall from grace. It wasn't one moment, one bad interview, or one scandal that shifted public opinion. No, it was a slow, painful unraveling. Every choice he made, every word he spoke, chipped away at the image he had spent years building. It wasn't as dramatic as a single explosive event. It was the accumulation of missteps over time. At first, people understood. When he stepped back from royal duties, many were sympathetic. They saw it as a man trying to carve out a life for himself, away from the suffocating royal expectations. They gave him grace. But as time went on, that sympathy began to fade. The more Harry opened up about his struggles, the more it seemed like he was airing his family's dirty laundry in public, not for healing, but for a paycheck. Every documentary, every interview, every new revelation felt like the same story told again and again. People started to grow weary. What was once seen as raw vulnerability started to feel like a marketing strategy, and slowly, the public's patience wore thin. What had once been relatable became repetitive. The same complaints, the same accusations, the same personal pain played out in public, no longer for catharsis, but for exposure. And that's where the disconnect happened. The audience didn't want to hear the same story over and over. They wanted something real, something fresh. But Harry, it seemed, was stuck in a loop. And slowly, bit by bit, the people who once supported him began to pull away. The spotlight that once felt like a blessing soon became Harry's curse. For years, he was the royal everyone adored. Charming, relatable, and easy to root for. He was the soldier prince, the one who made headlines for his charity work and his genuine connection with people. But as time went on, that connection began to fray. The more he sought attention, the more out of touch he seemed. What was once a charming vulnerability began to feel like a carefully crafted persona. Every new project, every headline, every interview seemed designed to keep him in the public eye. But in trying to stay relevant, he ended up revealing too much. The Netflix documentaries, the Oprah interview, the memoir, it all started to feel like a formula. And the formula wasn't working anymore. Where there was once sympathy, there was now fatigue. The public had seen it all before. The same family drama, the same complaints, the same struggles. It was no longer an authentic journey of self-discovery. It had turned into a brand. And in the world of royalty, where mystique and silence are key, Harry's exposure became his downfall. What he failed to realize was that the more he talked, the less people listened. What once made him relatable now made him seem self-absorbed. The public, who once rooted for him, began to tune out. And that, in the world Harry once knew, was a fate worse than being hated. It was being ignored. In the royal world, mystique is everything. It's the silence, the dignity, the sense of being untouchable, even when you're always in the public eye. And that's something Harry sacrificed the moment he stepped away from royal duties. What made him so captivating as a prince was his ability to blend public duty with a sense of relatability. He wasn't just a distant figure, he was one of them. But when he traded that mystique for exposure, everything changed. He stopped being a royal figure shrouded in grace and began to resemble just another celebrity, chasing fame at any cost. The constant stream of interviews, documentaries, and exclusive deals might have kept him in the headlines, but it also stripped away the very thing that made him stand out in the first place. Royalty isn't about endless publicity or oversharing. It's about knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. And Harry, in his quest for relevance, became a brand. The tragedy here is that, while Harry might have gained fame and financial success, he lost something far more valuable: the respect and mystique that come with being part of the royal family. The public doesn't need another celebrity. They need someone who embodies the dignity and mystery that royals have long been associated with. And now, Harry has become a cautionary tale. His story isn't about a man finding himself. It's about a man losing everything he once had by giving it all away for the sake of visibility. While Harry's efforts to stay in the public eye grew louder, the royal family remained almost eerily quiet. King Charles had his royal duties to focus on, William had the future of the monarchy to consider, and Kate, she continued to play her steady, supportive role. They were all moving forward, taking the monarchy into the future while Harry seemed stuck in the past, demanding attention and validation from an institution that had already moved on. The palace's silence wasn't just about ignoring Harry, it was a strategy. In the royal world, silence speaks volumes. By not reacting to his constant attempts to stir the pot, they were sending a clear message: we're not here to play into the drama. You made your choice. You walked away. Now, you're on your own. And while Harry might have expected a warm welcome upon his return, there was nothing. No reunion, no family embrace, not even a formal acknowledgement. His absence from royal events, especially at moments when family unity was needed, only highlighted the stark contrast between his actions and the royal family's dedication to duty. In the end, it wasn't just a lack of response, it was the royal family's deliberate decision to not engage. They understood something Harry didn't. The monarchy doesn't need to respond to every bit of noise. It endures. And by letting Harry's words fade into the background, they allowed him to reveal his true nature to the world without them needing to lift a finger. The most painful truth Harry faces now isn't the backlash or the media's sharp criticism. It's the absence of interest. There's no outrage, no fiery protests, just indifference. And for someone who's been in the spotlight for so long, that silence is deafening. When people stop talking about you, when they stop reacting, when they simply move on, it means you've truly lost them. This isn't about people hating him, it's about them just not caring anymore. In a world where attention is currency, being irrelevant is the ultimate punishment. Harry may have thought that if he kept speaking, kept exposing the royal life and its flaws, the public would rally behind him. But they didn't. They grew tired. What's worse than being criticized is being ignored. No more impassioned debates, no more heated discussions about his next move. Just a quiet scroll past his name, a collective shrug. The world's attention span is short, and Harry, once the center of it all, is now just another faded headline. this isn't a unique problem for Harry. It's the downfall of many who trade their authenticity for constant attention. In the end, it's not the anger of critics that stings. It's the realization that the audience who once cheered for you has simply tuned out. And no matter how much noise Harry makes, it seems there's no one left to listen. Harry tried to carve out a new identity for himself in California, believing that by stepping away from the royal spotlight, he could find freedom. But the problem with trying to escape the royal shadow is that no matter where he goes, it's still there, looming over him. Every project, every new deal, every attempt to reinvent himself inevitably circles back to the same thing: the monarchy. At first, there was a sense of intrigue about Harry's life outside the palace. The idea of a royal breaking free from tradition was bold, daring. But the more Harry referenced the royal family in his new life, the more it started to feel like a performance. Like he couldn't let go of the very thing he claimed to escape. He kept talking about the monarchy, about the life he left behind, as if it was still his anchor. And in doing so, he couldn't help but remind the world of what he was trying to distance himself from. Harry thought he could have it both ways, the freedom of California without giving up his royal ties. But it doesn't work like that. You can't criticize the institution that once gave you everything and still expect it to embrace you when the winds turn cold. His attempts at rebranding, from the Netflix deal to the tell-all interviews, have only made the cycle more apparent. The truth is, Harry's need for constant validation and relevance has become a self-destructive path. Instead of finding peace in his new life, he's been chasing the very spotlight he claimed to reject. And in the end, it's not bringing him closer to the freedom he sought. It's only making him more entangled in the past, unable to break free from the very narrative he's been trying to rewrite. It's become a painfully predictable cycle: interview, accusation, deal, controversy, repeat. At first, there was intrigue. People wanted to know more about Harry's life after stepping away from royal duties. But now, the formula feels tired. Every new project, every public statement, every controversy seems like it's just a new chapter in the same old story. And the worst part, the audience isn't biting anymore. What once felt like a bold act of rebellion has turned into a never-ending soap opera. Harry's quest for attention, for relevance, has become so predictable that it's almost like clockwork. He speaks out, the media jumps on it, and then the cycle begins again. But where's the excitement? Where's the newness? The audience that once hung on his every word is now fatigued, scrolling past headlines that have become stale. It's not that people have forgotten about Harry, it's that his story, once compelling and fresh, has become repetitive. There's only so many times the world can hear the same family drama, the same royal critiques, before it loses its spark. And now, even his most loyal fans are growing tired of the same narrative. The irony is brutal. Harry had the chance to redefine himself, to be the royal who bridged the past and the future. Instead, he's trapped in a cycle of self-promotion and constant rehashing of old wounds. What once was seen as an act of courage now feels like a carefully calculated performance. And the audience, they're no longer cheering, they're tuning out. The hardest lesson for Harry to learn now isn't about the media backlash or the criticisms from the royal family, it's about the power of silence. In the world of royalty, silence is more than just golden, it's powerful. It holds weight. It speaks volumes without uttering a single word. And Harry, in his relentless pursuit of visibility, has lost that understanding. What he doesn't realize is that royalty isn't just about making noise, about constantly being in the spotlight. It's about knowing when to step back, when to remain silent, and when to let the world come to you. In his quest to stay relevant, Harry has traded that mystique for an endless cycle of self-promotion. The interviews, the documentaries, the memoirs, they've all become a way for him to stay in the conversation, but not in the way that royalty demands. Once, Harry knew how to capture hearts with his simplicity. He didn't need to explain everything, didn't need to tell the world how much he was hurting or what he was trying to accomplish. He was just himself, and that was enough. But somewhere along the way, he lost that ability. Now, he's left shouting into a void, trying to get the world to listen, while the very thing that made him special, his ability to remain enigmatic and relatable, is slipping away. And that's the real tragedy. Not that Harry stepped away from royal life, but that he lost the ability to move in silence, to let the world wonder about him, to make his actions speak louder than his words. Now, even when he tries to be heard, it's not the royal presence people once adored, it's just noise. And that noise, in the end, is the one thing no one's interested in anymore.